Amar Rabbi Amar Shmuel Kochav Echad Yom. When they see one star, it's still considered day. Shnayim Ben Hashmoshes. If they see two stars, that's not. That's the time of Ben Hashmoshes. Shloisha Laila. When they see three, then it's night. Taina Ma'achi. There's a brayso to say the same din. Kochav Echad Yom Shnayim Ben Hashmoshes Shloisha. And explains Rabbi Yossi. Amar Rabbi Yossi. Loi Kochavim Gdolim Hanirim Bayom. We're not talking about big stars that you can even see in the daytime. The lo kochavim ktanim she'ein yirnei balayla, and we're not talking about small stars that you can only see at night. Ela beinoni. We're talking about middle stars. In fact, the Shulchan Aruch Chaim Reish Lamed Hey paskins l'maisa noyagim kilaylahu mishar shenirim shlosha kochavim ktanim. That night is when you see three small stars. Because the Taz and the Mogen Avram explains, we're not experts at differentiating between small and medium stars. So we have to wait till we see three small stars. However, betainis, on a fast day, so at the end of a fast day, as long as you see three middle stars, that's already considered light. But also malacha b'meshach kol bein hashmoshes. Oh, that's the next thing. So Amar Rav Yossi brothers vida. Also malacha b'shnei b'nei hashmoshes. Let's say a person does malacha Friday bein hashmoshes and Shabbos bein hashmoshes. So chayiv chatas mimanav shach. He's going to be chayiv at least one chatas, because if bein hashmoshes is night, so chayiv al erev Shabbos. Then when he did Belacha Ben Hashmoshes Erev Shabbos, it was daytime. If you consider Ben Hashmoshes Laila, you have a chatas, right? V'shal Matzah Shabbos Erev Klum. And the Iyamamahu, and if Ben Hashmoshes is day, Chayav Matzah Shabbos, right? And he's going to be Chayav Matzah Shabbos because the Ein Shal Erev Shabbos Klum. And then what he did in Erev Shabbos is nothing. God, the Ovid Lake Kol Ben Hashmoshes, he did the Belacha throughout Ben Hashmoshes. The lekel is means he had to do some kind of work that lasted during the whole period of Ben Hashmoshes. Arle Rav Lishmaya. Asun. The lo kimlu b'shiyud Rabbana. You who are not expert at shiurim, the Rabbana, in order to when to be madlik neiros. What you can do is when you see the sun on the top of the palm trees, that's a signal that you can already light your candles. Neiros Shabbos. It's another siman for those who don't understand all these shiur. What about biyam ha'mu'unin mai? What if it's a cloudy day and you can't use that siman of looking for the sun at the top of the palm trees? So b'masel chazi tarnagola. So you can look at a chicken in the city with their chickens, and they sit on their nest then. And b'davra urvi, in the desert or the field, you can look at the ravens. And they also, or inami adani, which is another kind of bird. It's some kind of plant. And what they do, they're like the heliotrope. They turn their leaves towards the sun exactly at that time. So these are other simanim to be able to use to determine, these various halachic parameters. Torah Rabbanan. Sheish Kiyos Toikin Erev Shabbos. Was a minhag to blow 6 shofar blasts going into Shabbos, and that was a signal. Rishona, Lahavtil Samim Lacha Shabbasados. The first blast, the people in the fields would stop working, but the people in the cities would still be open. Shnia is Lahavtil Ir V'Chanuyos. The second blast is the shops and the markets would close. Shlishis lahadlik asaner. The third blast is to be madlik ner Shabbos. The Rab Nossi. Rab Yudah Nossi or Shlishis lachloitz tefillin. For the people who wore tefillin the whole day, so there's no tefillin on Shabbos. So that was the simon take off your tefillin. V'shoyek they tzlias dad cotton, and they would wait a period of time that it would take you to fry a small fish, or to stick a pita against the wall of the oven, and then v'tokeya umeiriya v'tokeya. Then they did a tkiya, trua tkiya v'shoyves, and Shabbos started. Amar Shemi Gamliel, manasa lehem lebavlim. What should I do with these Babylonians? Shetoikin u'merian v'shoyvsi metoch merian. What should I do with these Babylonians? That they would already start Shabbos right after the trua. Freight the Gemara, toikin u'merian avlu chamisha. But then there's only 5 blasts, not 6. Ela shetoikin v'choizrin v'toikin u'merian v'shoyvsi metoch merian. That is, they would blow 2 tkiyos blasts, and then finally a trua, and that was the siman to start Shabbos. Minhag Avosayim was their min. Masper, you know, of Yisuk break. Shni Ladlik Asaner. It was a custom that they, even by the second blast, to be madlik the ner keman. Lo krab nosim, lo krab yidon nosim. Well, that's not. It's like neither of the Tanam we just brought. Elo shlishis ladlik the ner keman. Krab nosim, meaning the price that they got referred to shlishis, and it was a sheet of Rav Nosson, Rabbi Shmuel. There's another Bryce named Rabbi Shmuel. Sheish Tkiyos Toikin Erev Shabbos. They would blast 6 Tkiyos. His chilit kot Kirishon and Imnu Amdi Basadeh. The people working in the field would stop in La'ador from weeding, Malach Rosh, plowing, Malasus Kovlach Shabasadois, and stop all the work. Vena Kroivin Rishon Likanes. So some fields were further than the city, some were closer. The ones that were closer were not allowed to enter early. Everybody entered at the same time, so there wouldn't be like a Marasayan that the people didn't stop working, when they heard the blast. They all walked in at the same time. But Adayin Chanuyos Psuchos, the markets were open. Utresin munachim. The tresin were like their windows. You still see in the old Yerushalayim Me'er Shorim, where like a whole window was. They would actually lower the window and they would do their business on top of the window. All the wares would be out on like this board, and then to close up, they would close up with the same board. That's what a tresin are. His kilit kot kershniya. So that means when the first blast was blown, these stores were still open with the tracing out and the wares out. With the second blast, the stalk tracing, so then the tracing were brought up, and they closed up the shops. The hot food was still on the kira, which is on the stove top. Ukederos munach lagabi kira. Right, and there were dishes, hot dishes, all still on the kira. Chamin is like hot water. So then when they blew the third one, silek on the salek. So they would remove these hot dishes from the kira. V'hitmin amatmin. Those things that could be buried in hatmana, we're going to see in the next few prakim, as if you could bury a hot pot in something, for example, that didn't add heat, like wool or other material. But for example, into coals, you couldn't do hatmana because that added heat. That's a gzeira that you're going to come to stir the coals. V'hidlik amadlik. And then at the same time, they madlik the ner. Vishoya Kedet Tzlias, and they would wait a period of time that it takes to fry a small fish. Or the amount of time it takes you to slap a pita against the oven, side of the oven. That's a very short time. They would blow, truat, and then blow, and then they would start Shabbos. That you can even be madlik after the 6th kiyos. Because when they originally came up with being madlik after the 3rd kiyah, they had done it on purpose to still give time for the shamas to go hide the shofar in his hand. So really, yes. Yes? Armor low, but if that's correct, not every shamas lived the same distance from the shul to his house. And in Cain, Asatat Varech L'Shiurin. Chazal have to give you one shiur. It's common for everybody. Can't give you one shiur for this guy, one shiur for that guy. That doesn't make any sense. It means where he blew the shofar, wherever he was, that was a place that he had to hide the shofar. The shaminech shofar. Kotlin, lois ha-shofar, velos ha-chatzoitzros, because they were muktzah. So you had to put it away right away because he wouldn't be able to carry it at home once Shabbos started.
Sorry?
Frag the Gemara.
Yeah, then he's giving the wow. The Daf Yomi, yeah. Okay. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Frag the Gemara. How could you tell me that the shofar is muktzah? Batanya shofar metaltel. The chatzotzros ain't metaltel. Shofar is not muktzah. On Rav Yossi loy kasha, kan be yochid, kan be tzibur. That which they permitted to carry a shofar that was not muktzah, that's a private shofar, and the shofar that belonged to the tzibur, that is muktzah. What's a yachid going to do with a shofar on Shabbos? How could it be? How is it not muktzah? I guess they could use the mouth of the shofar to put some water in it to give water to the child. But the shofar that was owned by the shul could also be used, for example, by a poor ani, by a poor tinok, the tinok of an ani whose parnasa is dependent on the tzibur. So you could use that shofar as well as the tzibur. So why should the shofar of the tzibur be muktzah? Visu, another kasha. There's a brayso that seems to say that neither the shofar, neither the chatzotzros is muktzah. Mani. So then, whose shita is that? We have no shita that says that both can be metalta. Ella loy kasha. Rabbi Yehuda, that brayso that said you can't touch either the shofar or the chatzotzros. That's Rabbi Yehuda. In the famous machlokas throughout Shabbos, between Rabbi Yehuda and Rabbi Shimon, whether islay muktzah, whether leslay muktzah. Rabbi Yehuda holds there is muktzah, and therefore you can't touch either. Rabbi Shimon holds there's no muktzah, therefore you can touch both. And Rab Nechemia says that a kli, that if its ikar malacha is for prohibited purpose, then you can't touch it, even for a Sorach hector. So umay shofar. So then why, according to Rav Nechemi, why would a shofar be permitted? Nami chatzotzros k'Rav Chizda. It means it refers to a chatzotzra. That means a chatzotzra, according to Rab Nechemia, would always be usher, not a shofar. So he's the one that says one is mutter and the other is not. But the reason why he used the word shofar because he holds that the shofar is also referred to as a chatzotzra, like Rav Chizda. And we're going to see in a minute, there's a major machlokes. In some places they call the chatzotzra shofar. In some places they call the shofar chatzotzra. Where do we see this? The Amr Rav Chizda. Hani klas mili, ishtanu shmayahu, michichar beis hamikdash. The following three things, once the Beis Hamikdash was destroyed, the names changed. Chatzroitzrasa, shofar. That which was used to be the chatzroitzrois, now became a shofar. And during the time of what they called in the Beis Hamikdash a shofar, is now called the chatzroitzrois. Now, Lamai Nafkamina. Why do we need to know this name change business? L'shofar shel Rosh Hashanah, because we need to know when it says that you blow a shofar today on Rosh Hashanah, we have to know which one. Meaning we blow a bent horn, right? Our shofar is bent; it's not straight. So we have to know that today, with the shofar that used to be called the shofar is not called the chatzroitzos, but it refers to a bent horn. And the other arava, that which is called an arava, is now called the tzaftzafah. And that which used to be called a tzaftzafah is now called an arava. Now, my nafkamina, lulav, right? One of our arbamim is a lulav. So we need to know that today, since the arava that we use is now called a tzaftzafah, that's why we needed to know this din. Then, psoira, that's a big table. It used to be called psoira, it's now called a psorta. And a psorta is now called a psoira. So, lamai nafkamina, lameka chumimkar. That's not a halachic nafkamina. That's just if when you go to the market and you're buying a table, you should know which one is which. Amr Abaya, Afanu Noimar, Huvlili is a bekasi. This refers to a ruminant, like a cow. So he has 4 stomachs. One of the stomachs is called a bekasi. So that which used to be called the huvlila is now called the bekasi. The bekasi, the time of the bignash, is huvlila. Now, lamai nafkamina. Lemachat shenimtzeis bo'over beis hakosos. In Chulin, we learned that if you find a needle stuck in the wall of the beis hakosos, so if you only see the needle penetrating one side, the mitzad echad ksheira, but ushneit stodin treifa. But if it went through and through, it was a treifa. But that's only in the beis hakosos. In the other place, even if it was seen only on one side, we assumed that it penetrated both because it was very thin. The beis hakosos was a little thicker. Now, Rav Ashi, af anu noimar bavel bursif. Bavel used to be called, that which was called Bavel is now Bursif. That which was called Bursif is now called Bavel. Okay. When you write a get, you got to write the name of where the get is being given. And you have to be very careful. That's why if you ever, it's not just by Gittin, even by Tsuba. Take a look when you're at a wedding next time. For example, Beverly Hills, California. There is a specific way how to spell those things. There are books that are written which tells you how to transliterate an English word like California. Should it be with an aleph at the end or should it be with a hey in the end? I have a sefer from Rav Cohen, from Nishmas Yisrael, who's an expert at that. That has to do with this business, that in order for it to be kosher, both a get and a ksuba have to have exactly the right shame, and if there's a psul, a get could be puzzle because it wasn't written properly. That's this nafkamina. Hadalach b'mem adlikin, hadalach b'mem adlikin, hadalach b'mem adlikin. Kira. So Lamed Beis, Amud Beis. We start Perek Shlishi. Kira, we said, is a stove top, right? A tanur is something that you put inside to bake, right? But a kira is like our stove top. They have the same thing. You put a pot on the stove top. Now, we're going to see the next 2 or 3 blot. We're going to go through all sorts of machloiksim, where eventually we'll get to a psak that's relevant to us in our day about the blech and how we put our, what we do with our, but yeah, it has to be developed. You're going to see how the Mishnah and eventually how the Gemara analyzes the Mishnah, how we eventually get to our Gemara, we get to our psak halacha, but it builds over time. Kira shi sikum erev Shabbos. So you have a stove top, and that the fuel that was used is bekash or begavava. Kash is like straw. Gavava is shiboiles, something else also brought from the field. It's shirai left over from the field.
Stubble. It's called stubble here.
Noisin alea tafshil. Even on Shabbos. So we're talking about because the Aish is already gone now. We're talking about the Aish is no longer burning. It already stopped burning from before Shabbos. And this material does not add heat. So the Mishnah seems to say that you can put even lechatchila on it on Shabbos. But if the fuel that was used was begefas ube'etzim, gefas is like things that are left over from sesame seeds or olives after you squeeze them, or wood, then, and we're talking about the fire went out, but lo yitain ad sheyigrof or ad sheyitain se'efer. You may not put a tafshil on Shabbos onto this kira unless you've removed all of these coals from underneath the stove top, or you dumped ash on it. The coals remained there, but you covered it with ash. And that prevents the fire from firing up. Now, this din we just learned about the kira, where he gives you a hectare to put it back, to put it on the kira on Shabbos after you've covered it or you've removed the coals, is only chamid, is only hot water. Avalon tavshil, but not a cooked dish like a cholent, because there Beis Shammai is concerned that you are going to do something to fire it up, because a tafshil, you might be concerned that the tafshil didn't cook properly enough, and he's happy that it cooks longer. So we're going to see some things you're not happy that it cooks. For example, water, it's going to evaporate. If it's going to cook more and more, you're not going to have any hot water left. So there he's not happy. So there, you can leave the chamim, according to Beis Shammai, you can leave chamim water on there because he's not going to come to do anything to those coals because he doesn't want it to keep on evaporating away. But tafshil, he wants it. Rashi says, he's happy that it's cooking more and more. Some things are good the more it cooks. However, Beis Hillel allows both chamin and tavshil regarding this case of kira. Beis Shammai oimrim noitlin, avaloi machzirin. Now, let's say this there was a pot on the kira. He allows you to remove it on Shabbos, but you can't return it on Shabbos. Ubeis Hillel oimrim af machzirin. Rashi says we're talking about it was garuf. We're talking about a case where there was grief and ktima. You either remove the coals or you cover them with ash. Then you could be chayzer. If you did not do that, you could not be chayzer. Just the Shulchan Aruch Orach Chaim and Dinei Shabbos says, Kira shusaka begefesu be'etzim. If you have a stovetop where the fuel is wood, if there's a kind of dish in there where more and more cooking is good for it, and therefore we're concerned that the guy's going to touch the coals, so you can't leave it there unless you covered it with ash or removed the coals. So we paskin like Beis Hillel, because the Shulchan Aruch said tafshil. He didn't just say mayim. So the Shulchan Aruch paskins like the Beis Hillel in the Mishnah, which is not surprising.
But that has to be cooked like ben drosa also.
We're not there yet, as I said.
Okay.
We're not there. We're going to develop it. You notice there I didn't talk about yet how much it has to cook. We're going to get to the how far it has to be cooked. But in that halacha that I quoted, Shulchan Aruch doesn't say anything about Michael ben Rousseau yet, but we're going to see that there's a low plug regarding that issue. And then we'll have a final, and after a couple of blot, we will try to bring it up to, for example, our stoves, because we don't have wood and we don't have coals. Is there a difference between electric and gas and all? We'll try to make it more relevant to, these halachas being brought in the Mishnah is in their time because their fuels were different. Okay. So, iboilu. And here's how the Gemara is going to dissect this Mishnah. The Mishnah said, "Ad sheyitain esa efer." You can't put you can't put a kli, a tafshil or mayim ad sheyigrof or ad sheyitain esa efer. So, hi lo yitain. Does that mean lo yachzir? It means you can't put it back there. Once it's been taken off, you can't put it back there b'Shabbos. But maybe to leave it there. If the dish was there erev Shabbos and you didn't touch it, maybe you're allowed to leave it there. And perhaps that implies that I could leave a dish there even if I didn't remove the coals and I didn't cover it with ash. Think about covering the coals is like our blech. For example, you could have left it directly on a flame without a blech. And umani chanani. And who might that be like? Chananya, the Tanya. Chananya, Omer. And here's what Walter said. Kolshu k'Michael ben Rousseau. Ben Rousseau was a famous ganef. Now the ganefs, they're running around. They're always being chased. So they didn't wait for their food to be completely cooked before they ate it. So there's a debate in the Rishonim, what's considered Michael ben Rousseau. The maskana is half cooked. Something that's half cooked is considered Michael ben Rousseau. So Kolshu Michael ben Rousseau, mutar l'shois al gabi kira. So you're allowed, that is, if it's already, we're talking about, if it's already reached 50% of its cooking still when it was miboy yoin before Shabbos, mutar l'shois al gabi kira. You can leave it on the kira, even though it doesn't have a blech, even though it hasn't been covered, the coals removed or covered with ash. Oh, Dilma, perhaps it's not the way we learn, that the Mishnah means lashois tana, means to leave it. The igar v'kotum in ilolo. It means to leave it, you can only leave it if it was covered. And if you didn't remove the coals or cover it, you couldn't even leave it. And the kol shekain la'achzir, and certainly to return. So we don't know what the din is. Toshma, midiktoni trei bavi b'masnisen, because we have sort of two paragraphs in our Mishnah. First, Beis Shammai onim chamin avalot tafshin. First, Beis Shammai made a get there that when we allowed you to do it, it's only hot water, because their person is not nichale for it to be cooked. So we're not worried that he's going to stoke the coals. Avalot tafshin, but Beis Shammai was concerned that you left a chulip, there's some kind of food there, because there more cooking is beneficial. That was the one buff. The Bava Shnia was Beis Shammai oimrim noitlin, that you could remove it. Avaloi machzirin. Ubeis Hillel af machzirin. Now, if the beginning of the Mishnah referred to just leaving it there, so hochi ktani. So this is how you understood our Mishnah. You have a stovetop that the fuel was straw. The din is mashna le'at tafshil. That means if a tafshil was sitting there from Erev Shabbos, you could leave it there. But that's only kashu gagava. But gefes with the eitzim lo yashem. But if you had olive branches or wood, then lo yashem. That means the first part you wouldn't have to do grifa katima with kash and gava because it doesn't really add heat. But by gefas of eitzim, you weren't allowed to leave the kli there until you did grufa katima, umayin mashim, and it's not just anything that you could leave. So just like they're arguing in leaving a kli there that you had there from Erev Shabbos, they also argue regarding chazara. It means if someone had removed it on Shabbos, can you put it back? Beis Shammai does not allow you on Shabbos to return it. So that is a good lashon of the Mishnah. So therefore, it makes more sense to say mashim. But if the beginning of the Mishnah did not talk about shehiyah, it only talked about chazara and hachitani, and this is how you would have learned the Mishnah. Ki Rosh Zikub Akasha v'Gavava. You have a stovetop. The fuel was straw. Machzirin alei tavshil. You could return a tavshil. That's even if you didn't do grifu katima. But bagafas uve'etzim lo yachzrat sheyigrof lat sheitein efer. You couldn't return it until you covered it with ash. And it's not just anything that you could be chayzer. Umayin machzirin beisham chamin avalo tavshil. Only stuff that's not nicha, right? Hot water, but not tavshil. Ubeisalorim chan of the tafshil, and it continued the machlokas Beis Shammai only noitlin avaloy machzirin, ubeisalorim af machzirin. What do you mean? If the whole machlokas is chazara, hasulamali, why are you repeating it? So the Gemara seems to have a proof that the beginning part of the Mishnah is talking about shehiyah, leaving it, because otherwise the Mishnah doesn't make sense. So the Gemara says on the stop of Lamed Zayin, no. You still haven't proved to me that the Mishnah is only talking about shehiyah. It could also be talking about chazar. And the Chasuri Mechzav Achitani is going to give me some words that they added, and basically it's going to come out that we can't prove from at least this part of the Mishnah whether it's dealing with shehiyah only or whether it's dealing with chazar as well. Okay, and this is how we're going to build and analyze this Mishnah. So tomorrow we will learn at 9 in the morning the Daf Yomi, and then we'll have Sefer Yoshua Perek Gimel for husbands and wives tomorrow night at 8 o'clock, and then we're going to do Monday night the Tzuvim Rabbanon Basar B'Cholav Part 2, 8 o'clock at night, followed by Daf Yomi at 9 o'clock at night. That's the schedule for the next 2 days.
All right.
Shakor.
Okay. Shkoyach, thank you so much.
I